think one of the things that could happen, and I think it could come from the way they structure the grants, is the grants, rather than going to individual businesses, could go to consortia or could go to the exchanges to operate those kind of programs. Because I think that's right. The management, of it will be important, and to take the burden off, it really will be, I think, something that's aggregated as opposed to goes out to individual business owners. But I don't think there's been a decision, made on that yet.
And I think you'll see growing up spontaneously, so to speak, a number of organizations and institutions moving into that arena. The American Cancer Society, as an example, does a lot of workplace wellness work already with businesses, mostly large ones, but some small ones. And there's an economy of scale there, so to speak, a pattern that would solve some of the issue Ben talked about. And also, there's a story in the apparently announcement today from United Healthcare and the YMCAs in the country about a new effort to reduce the weight of covered employees, with the YMCA's pairing with United Healthcare plans to try to reduce the impact of diabetes costs on those plans. So that's again, a response to this new reality of our coverage situation. Do you have a question over here? Alice?
My question is, several people on the panel talked about the tax credits for small businesses, and I think it was Troy, I don't remember who it was, who said that that includes not-for-profits. And I'd like to know how a tax credit for offsetting the cost of insurance for us not-for-profits that insure all our employees, and it takes a tremendous chunk out of our budget, how this bill is going to help us to offset those costs.
I'm going to defer to Ben to take the first crack.
I mean, the tax credit works in almost precisely the same way as it works for small businesses. So 25 or nonprofits of 25 or smaller, we'll see the credit. The only difference between the nonprofit piece and the for-profit piece is that the nonprofit tax credit is a refundable tax credit, much like EITC. So, of course, you don't have profits if you're a nonprofit, so you don't have anything to reduce with respect to income. So, it's a refundable tax credit. So, 25. I think the number is it's a 35 to 50% sliding scale against the payments you make to the health insurance payments you make against your employees.
So it's a credit, not a deduction.
Yeah.
Right here in front.
Between New York State, between the New York State mandate H29 and the new federal mandate. Under the New York State plan, it's more of a COBRA benefit. Right. How does that affect what's the federal plan, and how does it affect the New York State?
I'll answer that. So the short answer is we don't know for sure until we get federal guidance. We believe that it's not going to be a COBRA-like benefit, but going to be an actual mandate, but we need HHS to make a clear statement on that. Assuming that's the case, we believe, based on the language in the statute and our understanding discussing it with federal legislators, that it would be a floor, not a ceiling, so that to the extent a COBRA-like benefit in New York was available for people, who would want to take advantage of it between 26 and 29, that would still be in operation.
But the people below 26 will be able to keep on their family coverage. It'll be much cheaper for those folks, and it'll cover self-insured plans and government employees. All the holes that we couldn't do with the state law is now sort of closed. That gap is kind of closed up to age 26.
One up here, and then sorry.
I was just going to add one thing.
One there, and then over here.
The legislation also includes that exchanges will be able to offer what they call a Young Invincibles policy for up to 30 years old, which will be a special, very low-cost policy that you can only purchase if you're, under 30. So that's another option as well.
So up there and down here.
First, just a comment. I thought it was, from a political standpoint, I thought it was very interesting the fact that you mentioned that the two exchanges that currently exist are in Utah, a government-run exchange in a Republican state, home of Orrin Hatch who oppose this, and the private exchange is in a sort of democratic, mostly considered democratic state. And I would hope that, and actually a potential Republican candidate for president, Mitt Romney's plan, I would hope that this will be something that we will be using over the course of the fall and so forth as we move forward, because that might be good to counter some of the misinformation that's out there about the campaign, about the policy. But my question is, during the debate, there was a lot of discussion about opening up plans across state lines. And I know that we were very nervous here in New York that if it were opened up, it might impact the good policies that we do have in our health coverage. And I kind of got lost, and I don't know where that is at the moment. So I don't know if anybody can update us. Were we successful in that, or are we still in danger?
Successful in the sense that it should happen, or that it shouldn't happen? Because it should happen.
Well, that's what I guess
And
I would
again,
like to hear the debate about.
Well, I'll comment again. Not an insurer, so it doesn't really impact Mandicare. But if you look at, I started in this business in this state 20 years ago, and there was about 18 carriers that sold insurance here. There was Phoenix Mutual, Mass Mutual. Everybody sold health insurance. And over time, as we regulated ourselves into guarantee issue and all the things that we do and deregulated hospitals, that became smaller and smaller, and there's probably 6. To answer your question, I don't think it's going to happen across state lines, because all of the authority, for the most part, seems to be staying with the states as it relates to the regulation, and I'll ask our friend from the department to comment on that. So I don't see it happening, but I would argue that if you did have, if you have a multi-state carrier like a United Healthcare or Aetna or Cigna, that right now they're faced with not only offering national plans, but dealing with individual state mandates. Now you're going to throw a bunch of federal mandates on top of that stuff. Just nature of supply and demand. If we had 5 or 6 carriers move into this marketplace to begin to offer product, they're going to move in here to write members. So they're going to be aggressive in pricing. They're going to be aggressive in their business model to try to expand coverage and capture market share. So quite frankly, the protectionism that we currently have in a state-regulated environment is not going to lend itself to increasing competition. And I don't see the cost of health insurance, especially in New York. We already have big community-rated pools. It's not going to drive the cost of health insurance down.